Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and CN just came out with their latest update on the CN side, so we now have Leva and all of her numbers with her kit, which also includes her dupes, and we got the expansion key numbers and data for Lena and Mosen Nagant as well as some other stuff that we'll discuss towards the end of this video. So if you watch this all the way through, there's some other big announcement information we got on the CN side that I'll discuss towards the end of the video. But first thing I thought we'd do is we take a look at Leva here. Now, we've already looked at her entire kit, at least the generalistic parts of it, because we didn't have all the numbers with it. So we're going to go through it fairly quickly here. I will be doing another video, more of a deep dive in her as well, when she's actually coming out for global. This is just my initial look and impressions on how she's looking in terms of the meta. Now, there's going to be people on the CN side testing her. I don't have access to CN to actually test her or anything, but they're going to be kind of getting being able to utilize her amongst the teams and kind of get a feel with her for all the current people available on CN. But I can say, just having looked through it when we looked on the stream, she looks like basically another, I'm not going to say exactly like Klukai, because she doesn't function like Klukai, but she's in this same realm of a really, really broken V0 AoE, and then as you invest in dupes, it looks like she gets really, really good at boss battles, or basically taking out single targets. And so, but the one nice thing is, when it comes to dupes, she has more a good stop points other than just stopping at V3 or V6 or being V0. Like, she has actually a good V1 if you want to do a little bit of a minor investment into her. So we'll just go ahead and take a quick look at her really quick here on all the stuff. We've already kind of seen everything. So the big thing is, it's all going to be revolving around this skill here. Where is it? Superconductive Strike. This is where a lot of her core big damage is going to be, and this is an attack that she can do after her ultimate. So first we'll look at the passive real quick. At the start of round, when triggering tile reaction voltage tiles, and this is one thing that's kind of unique in that whenever she does, you trigger tile reactions on voltage tiles, gains 1 stack of superconductive code. Now, the superconductive code is important, is because those stacks are what determines how much damage you do when you do superconductive strike. So you accumulate the superconductive code, and then when you can do a superconductive strike, depending on how many stacks you have, is going to determine how much damage you do, as well as stability damage with that. And the nice thing is, with voltage tiles, when you look at how that works, inflicts electrical weaknesses, like most of the things where you put things on the ground, like ice and all of them have some kind of effects. It puts the electric weakness on them. And then when they take AoE damage, so when the enemy standing on the tile takes AoE damage, triggers tile reaction and removes the effect of the tile. And so this kind of gives me the idea that you have the potential to get a lot of stacks potentially with this, because every time a voltage one goes off, it's going to give you 1 stack. So if you have multiple units that are able to do AoE, especially on a boss potentially where they're on multiple tiles, I'm thinking maybe you can get multiple stacks doing it this way, or you're going through multiple turns. As we're going to see, you're not going to be able to just cast the ultimate every single turn, at least at V0. And so that's going to be the big thing, is trying to get these stacks. So this is one way, right under passive, getting it through the voltage tile reactions. And then you have, if Leva has positive charge, increases damage. If an enemy with attack range is applied negative charge, performs Y support. That's another big thing here. She is a support action user. If they have negative charge, she can do a support action. And she deals, and this is the one thing that was kind of key that I've seen. It doesn't seem to, it's very specific in what it is, because she does this at a range, which she teleports up to the enemy and does the damage. But it says that it deals melee electric damage. And I don't know of anything in this game at this point that specifies melee. So, or buffs melee in that kind of capacity. But it does melee electric damage equivalent to 60% attack and stability damage, and increases Confectance Index by 1 point as well. That's going to be important, because you need 6 to cast her ultimate. So doing these support actions is going to get you a lot of Confectance Index there. You can do that twice per round. Now, you can do, it's just like some of the others, she can do additional with dupes. So you have that big part there. And then, like what I said, the reason I really keyed on that melee is it just brings amongst the thoughts with how we have very specific for Michitu on one thing. And that is with our Nightmare, where she has AoE support damage. She can convert to corrosion. Now, this doesn't relate to Leva at all, but it does show they're willing to be very specific on a type of move, AoE support action. Well, here's one where it's a melee support action. So, who knows? We might have a unit that in the future says converts melee support action to whatever. And so, that is really nice there. So, hopefully, we'll have to see what Robella does, because it could be tied in with Robella, for all we know. Or if there's another character that has something that's specific to melee that I'm not thinking of, let me know in the comments. But right now, I can't think of anything where that really makes a difference, that is, it's specifying that it is melee at this point. But that part there, that's her passive, and passive is very important to her entire kit. Now we go to the rest of her stuff here. You have your normal basic attack, nothing crazy with that. Then you have rational suppression. As you're going to see, it's just like Klukai in the fact that she's just doing massive AoE damage with her base kit here. And so this one, stability damage 2, cooldown 1, and so this has no confectance cost index, so you can do this every other turn. Selects the direction, deals AoE damage. You can see a big AoE area, 120% attack to all targets, applies negative charge, and generates voltage tiles. Remember, voltage tiles are going to be important for generating those superconductor strikes, so you're going to put those down. Nice little damage there. Then you have our other skill, Chaos Control. This one's got a cooldown of 1 turn, so you can think about that. You can alternate between these two if you're using your skills. This one is selects a tile within a 7-tile radius and deals AoE electric damage equivalent to 100% attack within a 3-tile radius of the selected tile. Increases damage dealt by 30% and stability damage dealt by 1% against targets with negative charge. So, I mean, you can see this one, it almost looks just like Klukai's in terms of just a giant AoE attack, except it's specific to the stats that it has here. And then it comes to the ultimate, which is what you're going to want to use whenever it's available and you are set up with your conductive strikes. And that is, her ultimate is deals AoE electric damage to all targets within a 7-tile radius. You see this ginormous radius here. 7-tile radius, and generates voltage tiles, so all that becomes voltage, and it lasts for 3 turns. Leva gains overclock strike for 3 turns. After attacking, the conductive strike can be used once. So with this, she gets overclock strike for 3 turns, and if you look at that, if the target stability is 0, it's basically an overflow on stability damage. So stability damage times 5% attack. So if you do 10 stability damage, you're going to get a 50% attack damage overflow from that stability damage. So that's the whole core of electric, is breaking them and then overflowing that stability damage when you look at her kit here. So you have that, and then after attacking, a superconductor strike can be used once. And then when you look at superconductor strike, this is her big hard-hitting attack that's after the ultimate. So you do that, and then selects an enemy. Select an enemy within a 7-tile radius, generates voltage tiles within a 1-tile radius of the selected enemy for 3 turns, deals melee, another part where it's saying specifically a melee electric damage, 50% attack to it, consumes all stacks of superconductive code. And this is where you're going to want to get 4 stacks because you get bigger damage, bigger stability damage. Remember, this is overflowing into damage here. Damage multiplier and stability damage dealt is as follows. Okay, so that's just... So if you have 4 stacks, you're doing 120% attack, and then if you have, which you should from your ultimate, overclock strike, and they're already broken, 6 times 5%, so that's a 30% attack on top of that, so that makes it 150. Big attack there. That's her entire kit. In a quick, as quick as I can go over it. I'll go more in depth when she's coming out on global. But that's a quick and dirty on her kit there. The big thing that we really didn't have before, I mean, we didn't have the numbers on that stuff, but we didn't have any idea on the dupes for her. And this is where you're going to see, you can already see in her kit, she's big on AoE. She's massive AoE. She's going to wipe fields. She's very well may power creep a V0 Klukai. So she may be better at V0 for AoE than Klukai. I don't know at this point. She looks really good. Her range is just as massive as Klukai's. It's kind of different in terms of she's not driving out and able to go as far out. Like Klukai can cover anywhere in the map, while this one is centered around her. So it's a little bit different, but I mean, that's massive area that she's covering there. She just gets in the middle of the enemies and just destroys them. But when you get into the dupes, this is where you start seeing where she can start becoming a single target damage dealer to a certain extent. So you have the first one, V1, and this is one thing that's nice. Her V1 is actually good, and if you wanted to invest a little bit into her, you could just go over V1, and that one of the big parts of it is increases maximum number of instances of Y support, so it gives her an additional support action. And what's key with those support actions is you gain 1 confectance point. Well, she does the damage, but then she also gains confectance index point of 1. So she goes to the point where instead of doing a 2 per round, she can now do 3 per round. And if she can do 3 per round, that means every 2 turns she can cast her ultimate. Nice. So now you can do her ultimate more often. And that's just that part. If an enemy with negative charge with an attack range dies, gain 1 stack of superconductive code. This one's nice. I mean, this is just more AoE for her, because if you're fighting a boss, generally, unless the boss has like adds, this isn't going to buffer in that capacity. Now, if the boss has adds of any extent, this is going to be massive. But this is just going to make it where she can just do even more massive AoE damage with her attack by getting those stacks quicker as they're dying. If Leva has positive charge, increases electric damage. So, big thing is, it's going to make her be able to cast her ultimate more often, because she can get more confectance index from that Y support. And her AoE is now making her even, like, she's going to be able to get even more superconductive code quicker through enemies dying here. So that's a nice one for her if you wanted to just do a little investment. Upgrade 2 is for Chaos Control, increases damage multiplier by 130%. At the end of action, gain 1 stack of superconductive code. So this one's good as well. I mean, you're getting superconductive, you're using the skill, and this is going to make it easier to get to those 4 stacks of superconductive code. Nice one there. Now, this is one where I wouldn't be considering it a good stopping point, because just looking at the kit, if you're at V2 and you stop at V2, I feel like it's still going to take you those 2 turns to pull off a superconductive strike. So I think you may be able to actually pull off getting those 4 stats without V2. So I don't know how valuable that's going to be. So I wouldn't consider that a good stopping point. And another reason is, if you're going to get V2 and you're one of those spenders that's willing to do that, you might as well go to V3, because V3 is where you're starting to see it start to ramp up. At V3, superconductive strike ignores 15% of the target's defense. Huge there. And gains 1 stack of superconductive code after skill usage. That is now, if she uses any of her skills, she gets 1 superconductive code from that, as well as she gets 1 from here. So now this one's making it where you're going to have 4 stacks fairly easily. Damage multiplier is now upgraded at V3, and now it goes from 120 attack to 180, and 8 stability damage. If the enemy's broken, which with lightning, they should generally be broken, because that's like their whole gimmick right now, from when you look at it, is stability breaking them. That's going to overflow, and that's going to get you 8 times 5, so 40% attack additional on top of that. So that's going to, be 230 damage attack on that 4 stacks. Massive. That's a huge increase to damage. And now you're getting to where, hey, now she can do some single target damage with these big hits here. And you're going to be able to build up those stacks in a relatively good manner to be able to do it often enough to be doing good damage to a boss. So V3, that's going to be a great stopping point, just like Klukai. Klukai can do boss damage fairly well now at V3. But it just keeps ramping up with her, though. So you have V4, applies paralysis to all targets within range for 2 turns, increases crit damage of the skill by 25%. Nothing too crazy on the V4. It's not a stopping point. It's just additional part to rational suppression. Not too worried about that one. If you're going to V4, if you're going past V3, you should be going to V6. I mean, that's pretty much it at that point. V5 is big on her. But like I said, if you're going to hit V5, you might as well get V6. Even if it's on a rerun, you're going to eventually get V6. But V5 increases the damage multiplier to 90% from quantum calculation, and that's the ultimate here. And so it increases 90% and cleanses all debuffs on herself before attacking, which is nice. Just a nice little cleanse. Increases the damage multiplier for Superconductive Strike to additional stability damage times 8. So instead of 5%, it's now 8. So if you think about that, 8, if you're overflowing here, 8 times 8, so 64% damage attack on that. This one is massive on that. More damage that Superconductive Strike. Like I said, this one's really good, but if you go to V5, you're already a dolphin / whale. You should be going to V6 at this point, but it is really good for her. V6, and this is where it's getting into Klukai's levels. I'm going to have to see how people compare her to Klukai V6. But this one is, after using Rational Suppression or Chaos Control, Superconductive Strike can be used. So now, it doesn't matter if you use her ultimate, use Chaos Control, or Rational Suppression, she can use Superconductive Strike, which effectively means you can do a Superconductive Strike every single turn. And basically, everything from what I can tell, you're also going to be able to get max stacks every single turn. So you're going to be doing this damage, this right here, every single turn with her. So that's what that one is. You're going to be able to do that every single turn with her. And then at the start of turn, gains additional stack of Superconductive Code. This is where I'm saying you're going to be able to get max stacks every turn. So once the turn starts, she just gets Superconductive Code, 1 stack right off the bat. In battle, when Leva gains 4 stacks of Superconductive Code, like I said, she's going to be able to do this every single turn. Increases attack by 15%. So not only that, she just gets an increase to her attack percent, so even more damage. So her V6 is massive. I can't compare. I don't know how this is going to compare to Klukai, but this is definitely another situation where she starts as a massive AoE, really good at AoE, and just becomes a massive boss killer towards the end. So this may very well be a V6 Klukai power creep on the electric side. We'll just have to see once CN people start testing it and we can actually see it in practice there. But definitely a really good stats there. When we get to our fixed keys, at nothing too crazy here, but fixed 1 at the start of battle gains 2 stacks of Superconductive Code. So this is just going to make it much easier right off the bat to get Superconductive Code stacks of 4 at the very beginning, because at the very beginning you're pretty much going to want to go right into her ultimate, especially if you're for some reason using a fight near a boss. I don't know how good she's going to be at a boss at V0, but you can go right into using potentially using this quite quickly and already have 4 stacks at V0 with that. So that one's nice there. I don't know how useful this is going to be at V6. This may be a key that you don't even need at V6. Then you have key 2, increases damage dealt towards enemies in stability break by 7%. A 7% damage increase. Nice there. Before performing Y support, dispels a buff. 1 buff from the target. That's nice as well. After, and then fixed key 4, after using a Superconductive Strike, gain concealment for 1 turn. So this one is, like, this is kind of going into our whole AoE gimmick. I'm wondering if they're going to really add content that has, like I said, that's going to have, instead of a big boss, a bunch of really high HP elites instead. Not as high as a boss, but really high HP that you're not going to one-shot with your AoE characters, whether it's Leva or Klukai. So this could be important for her, where you just throw her out there in this AoE, do a massive amount of AoE damage. So you're going to hurt a lot of them by a lot, but she's not going to be able to kill them. And if that's the situation, this could be extremely important. I don't know if that situation is going to arise, but this key kind of hints at something like that coming for more difficult content in the future. Fixed key 5, before allies perform an active attack, applies a negative charge to the enemy within range for 1 turn. I think this one's going to be quite important with the negative charges, so that's really nice there. And then fixed key 6, at the start of battle, gains overclock strike for 3 turns. This is another good one. I think it's going to be more of a V0 one, I think, because if you look at it, you're going to be able to get this as a, if you go into dupes, you're going to be able to maintain overclock strike the entire fight. So I don't think the fixed key 6 is going to be important, especially if you go heavily in the dupes. But I can't say that off the top of my head right now, though, because this is just, I mean, this just came out like an hour ago. And then her common key, attack plus 5%, increases damage dealt towards enemies with electric type debuffs by 7%. Straight outright good for electric team on her common key. That is great there. So that is Leva. She is great. Like I said, I feel like she is just another Klukai in terms of what her kit encompasses and all of that. Now, we'll have to see how she compares to Klukai, because I think Klukai is the one you're going to want to compare her to. And so CN will be doing that, so we'll kind of have to see, and I'll kind of go over that once we get more information on it. But everything in here tells me I think she's potentially going to power creep Klukai, or V6 at least is going to power creep Klukai. I just see a lot of potential damage in there. And Lightning has a full team versus Klukai's right now, who's still missing. We still need more corrosion members. Right now, Klukai is really good alongside Hydro, but let's see how good she gets when she gets more corrosion alongside her. And with that, we can now look at what is going to be her best teammate, Lena, and her her new expansion key. And like we've already seen in my last video on this is huge for Lena. Lena is going to be core to the electric team. You are going to want to pull Lena. And Lena is going to be one of those ones, she's almost, to me, going to be like your Vector / Springfield of electric, where, yeah, they want their V1s. She's at least wanting her V1. I'd even say for Lena, you're going to want her V2, because that actually makes her even better. But I think V1's going to be pretty important. Like, I don't think it's going to be needed, but I think it's going to be quite important, because she has the same scenario that Klukai has with a large cooldown, but her V1's what gives you the ability to actually reduce it so you can use it more often. And you're going to want to use her ultimate more often because of her expansion key. And that is, you have, after skill usage, Lena gains Light of Victory for 3 turns. So, it gains Light of Victory, Leading Pursuit. After skill usage, increases the damage multiplier of the attack executed during extra command by 100%. And then for each point of Confectant's Index consumed during the round, increases Lena's attack by 5%, up to a maximum of 30%. And then when you go to Light of Victory, after Light of Victory for 3 turns, for all electric type allies, increases, and this is the key part that there was some confusion before originally, but it says right at the beginning, for all electric type allies, increases stability damage dealt by 3 points. So now the stability damage is going up by 3 points. And just remember, we have Leva, which has got that massive buff where you overflow. That's going to be more damage for her. Doubles the fixed damage dealt by negative charge. More damage. And from what I've seen on Discord, that's a 30%, basically a 30% damage increase. And then gains electric boost when triggering a tile reaction for voltage for 2 turns. And what does Leva want to also happen? Triggering voltage tiles. So it's massive. She is going to be, like, if you're going to want to invest in Leva, you're going to want to invest in Lena. They're going to be their yin and yang, or whatever you want to call. So this expansion key makes Lena extremely good. And massive increase for the electric team. Now, like I said, we don't know how they're going to change up the order that we get units in, but my suspicion is they will put these, they will have Lena and Leva come probably fairly close to each other when they come to global. So I actually think Leva is going to be just like Yuhi, and we're actually going to get her early. And then she might come alongside Lena. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'm just making guesses here, but I'm going to guess they'll come together. Because they're going to want people to feel the need to pull Lena, and Leva's going to be one of those units to give you that thought. If they don't do that, then people may skip Lena until we know Leva's coming out. So that's just my suspicion. We'll see what it comes with it in the future. But that is massive for her. And then the other one is Mosen Nagant, which is sadly not as good as I would like. But Mosen Nagant is that expansion key. When allies attempt to paralyze a target, which you're going to get with Lena, Mosen applies the electric spark on the target for 1 turn, and it applies for 1 round. but Electric Spark increases electric damage received from Mosen Nagant. That's the part that sucks. If it was all electric units, that'd be a little bit better. But it's just Mosen Nagant, which means, I mean, Mosen Nagant still wants her V4 and V6. This effect is treated as a paralyzed effect. It is considered an electric type debuff. It's nothing crazy for her. Now, Mosen Nagant is good at V4 and V6, so this is just more damage for her. But you definitely want V4 or V6. And I don't think that's going to reply. Like, I have to see the numbers on it, but I don't think, I mean, you're just probably going to want to get at least a V0 Belka, and I think she's just going to be better. But I have not heavily looked into Belka at this point to kind of see where you would put a V6 Mosen Nagant versus Belka, as well as the opportunity cost if you invest heavily into Mosen Nagant on your standard pulls, which you can target her, which is good. I mean, to get all the way to V4 and V6, you're probably pushing out getting Shangzhou to V3 or Tololo to V2 and Tololo to V4. So there's a massive opportunity cost if you want to invest heavily into Mosen Nagant. You can, but it is what it is at that point. But yeah, that is pretty much everything we got there. Now, there was one other little thing that I said that I would bring up at the end, and that is there's people who've kind of dug into the game, and some images have come up on the Reddit here of upcoming units that aren't officially announced. At least I don't think they're officially announced. Look on the post. But you already can see it here. I mean, we know she's coming based on the preview image, but they have SOPMOD here that they found an image of her in game right here, as well as another one here. I think this is Robella here, that one, and then you have, I think everybody's saying this is AN-94. I don't know all the units from the original games, but they're units that are now known to be coming out here. That was the big thing that I seen there. And there's still a lot more stuff being discovered as they're playing, so I'll probably make another follow-up video tomorrow on some of that stuff. But yeah, that is pretty much it. And I think that's pretty much everything that I've heard so far up to this point. But a lot of good stuff. Leva is definitely interesting me a bit. It's making me wonder if I want to actually V6 Springfield versus investing in the electric team. I mean, we'll have to see. We have a while until Springfield could potentially come out. Same thing with Leva. So we're going to have more units come out on the CN side by then, so I'll probably have a decision at that point as well. Maybe a different unit over them. We'll have to see. Maybe I'll like the new big physical unit, and I'll want to invest in them. We'll kind of have to see. I'll have to know my decision by the time one of these comes out, though. So we'll see at that point. But yeah, that's it. If you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.